my friends. We're doing something I'm super excited about. We're going to be making a stuffed, it's a very old recipe. It's from southern Italy, and it is a stuffed Italian bread. This is something that I saw a million years ago while watching one of those travel shows back when they were popular on actual television. And it was a street food where this beautiful Italian loaf was stuffed with sausage and all these things, and they were cutting off pieces right there in the street and wrapping it in this cute little paper and selling it by the pound. I fell in love, and I hunted down, and I do mean it took me forever because this was before the internet, I think. I mean, it was pretty close. It's a long time. And so I had to really hunt, but I found it, and I've been making it since. And we make our own sausage here, so that's going to be a whole separate video because it's going to be a series, because we do a lot with that. So the bread that I'm going to be using is from Bread Baking 103. I will link it. You won't have to go searching. But we're going to start today from the dough already being prepared. Right now it is in the proofing box right there waiting for us. We're going to make the filling. Now the filling is, in our case, homemade sausage, but it is Italian sausage. It is left to you whether you want that to be spicy or sweet. Today I'm using sweet because it's what we have. We just made sausage and we didn't make the spicy yet. So there you go. We've got our onions, we've got garlic, and the cheese that they use is a cheese that we cannot get here in the United States. So when I did my research, this is easily 15 years ago, maybe more. Oh gosh, I think it might be a lot more actually. All right, never mind. The closest we could come here in the States is Fontina. So that's what we're using. And then of course, Pecorino Romano. It has to be the real stuff because the kind of knockoff stuff has this really weird, almost woody texture that makes me sad. So I know it's just a few extra dollars, but this cheese is worth it. So it's Pecorino Romano. Please get the good stuff. You don't need a ton, okay? So I'm gonna set everything up over at the stove and show you how to make the filling. It is very, very important that the filling be completely cooled. And that's, as a rule, whenever you're mixing, you're stuffing a bread or a pastry, whatever it may be, your filling has to be absolutely cool, because if not, it will actually destroy the dough from underneath. Between steam and overheating, it will make the dough super lax, and all of that texture that you worked hard to build will be gone. Okay? So we want to always make sure that we have left enough time to make our filling, chill it, have our dough ready to go, and that dough is overnight, so it's so easy to do. This particular recipe makes 2 loaves, but I'm only making one stuffed. The other I'm just baking as a loaf because we need bread. So if you want to make 2 stuffed loaves, one for the freezer, because this freezes beautifully. And this is one of those things. We're going into gardening season. We're going into our busy season. Those of us who engage in this sort of thing, we need to start making sure we have lots of good stuff ready in the freezer, because when we come in from outside and we've just barely avoided heat stroke, starting from scratch and cooking dinner, it can lead to the dreaded, let's order something. And I really try to avoid that, because who knows what they're giving you. And at home, you know exactly what's in it. So if you make 2, double the recipe, the filling recipe, the dough already makes 2, and freeze 1, and you will be so happy to have that in your freezer. This is delicious. If you were in Italy, they'd sell it by the pound. At home, you eat it until it's gone. Okay, so we're at the stove, and we're going to add just a bit of oil just to get things started. Otherwise, things tend to stick to the pan. I don't want the aggravation. Now, what you're going to see me do is I'm going to cook the sausage first. Now, you'll also notice that it is bulk sausage, meaning it has been removed from the casing. We make most of our sausage in the casing, but we do hold back, a few pounds just so that we can do things like this. Stuffings, pasta dishes, things like that. If all you can get for the good sausage is in the casing, I'd rather see you get that than to see you get a lesser quality sausage that is sold bulk. You know, one of the big companies makes bulk sausage, but it's not worth your time if you have an option. It only takes a quick moment to take the casing off, and it is absolutely worth it. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to cook this sausage, but we're not going to cook it to 100%. We're going to cook it to about 80% because we want to leave room for the sausage to finish baking in the oven. If we cook it to 100% now,
when we go to bake the bread at 400 degrees, we risk overcooking it and having a dry filling. And we want this to be succulent and absolutely spectacular. Okay, so that's the reason we're going to stop this at about 80% or so. So you're going to see some nice caramelization, and then it's just we're going to pull it off when there's just a little bit of pink left. Okie dokie. Look how beautiful that is. So we've got the caramelization going that I told you about, but I'm not doing a lot of stirring. I'm leaving a lot of it undisrupted so that we can have that little bit of pink left. We just need a little. Now I'm using this strainer because I want to leave most of that liquid in the pan, because we're going to use all of that fat that's been rendered from the sausage, and we're going to use that to cook our aromatics, which is, of course, in this case, it's our onions and our garlic. I'm also going to be adding just a pinch of crushed red pepper flakes because, as I told you, we didn't have any spicy sausage, and my family is nuts about spicy. So I'm going to do that. If you're sensitive to spice, just feel free to go ahead and leave that out. Our sausage has fennel in it, and it's very, very flavorful. If you're dealing with a sausage that is not as flavorful, this is your opportunity to boost it up. You want it to have lots of flavor. We're going to add our garlic, and just as we start to smell it, because that pan is so hot, we're going to add the onions, which helps keep it from burning. Now, what I didn't mention when I was reading off the list of ingredients was white wine. I deglaze the pan with about a 1/4 cup of white wine, and it makes all the difference. Now, you don't have to worry about alcohol being in the dish because we're going to reduce it to where it's just about gone, and all it leaves is the flavor. The alcohol is gone. So that should be a non-issue. Just a little salt and pepper here. Anytime you add onions, you want to add a little salt and pepper at that moment. It helps start to break down the cell walls of the onions, which gives you a really nice texture. And we're just going to keep sauteing here until I get just enough color on there. Now, I'm not going to cook it until it's really super tender because we want to have a little bit of texture left. It's nice when you bite into it. So we're going to deglaze the pan with the white wine, and we're going to reduce it until there's just about no liquid left. This place smells so good that you can smell it outside, which I just think is the coolest thing. I don't know why I find that so fascinating, but I do. Anyhow, you see the reduction happening here. You see how large the bubbles are getting. That tells you that we're just about at the end of our reduction. And because I can't help myself, I wipe up a stove even though it's still splattering everywhere. I don't know why I do that. I can't help myself. So you see that we've got a little bit of browning, but the onions still have a nice texture. I want to keep that. Now, they take on a little bit of jamminess, but not all the way. This is not a fully caramelized onion. If you bit into it, there'd still be a little bit of bite right in the center. That's what we're looking for. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this onion and garlic mixture, we're going to put it in a bowl with our sausage, and we're going to let it cool all the way down. Absolutely cool. You don't have to put it in the fridge, but you absolutely want it to be where there is not even a tiny bit of warmth left. It's very important when you're working with doughs that you keep your temperatures in line. Warm doughs tend to collapse, and that's just the reality, and what we don't want is for that to happen. I just added my crushed red pepper flakes here, and what I like to do is I like the fat to coat those red pepper flakes. It helps open up the oils, and the oils they taste a little bit more vibrant when they hit the fat. So you ever hear of toasting your spices? That's essentially what I did in the fat. And anytime you're using crushed red pepper flakes, I recommend that you do that. That little bit of difference, it really does matter.
Okay, so now you see everything is beautiful, but there is just, like, I would not feel comfortable just taking a pinch out of this bowl and eating it. There's definitely a little bit of pink left to the meat, but not very much. Okay, so now any big giant pieces I'm breaking apart. That'll just make it easier when we're shaping our dough. We don't need to make crumbs, but just giant pieces we can take apart. And we're just gonna let this cool. We've got our fontina cheese already. We've got our pecorino romano, and our dough is finishing up. When we come back, it'll be time to finish the filling and shape. It is so good.
Well, this is the first time this has ever happened to me. The clip where I'm actually shaping the bread is corrupted, and I cannot uncorrupt it. So very quickly, I'm going to tell you that the filling goes down the center, dead center of this bread, and it's folded closed like a letter. And it's sealed, and the top is slit.
And then one of the fun things, this is not in the recipe, it's just something that I do. They do not do this, but I take just a little bit of garlic powder and I sprinkle it over the top. A little bit of black pepper right over the top. It doesn't need salt. All that cheese has plenty of salt, but that little bit of garlic and black pepper is delicious. This will go into the oven in about 10 minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. Go. There we are. Isn't she beautiful? See all the cheese just coming out of those holes? Now, let's take this off. Let's come around. See how beautiful this is? Now, because all of our slits stayed open, we've got that beautiful cheese bubbling out, and we don't have any blowouts. That's because we sealed very, very well. We were careful, and we made sure we could expose the filling so the steam could come out and didn't need to make its own exit. Because bread can be rude like that. It doesn't care how much we try and how hard we work. Our feelings are irrelevant to bread. It hurts me deeply, but we don't quit. Now this is extremely hot. So we're gonna let this we're gonna break our rule. We're not gonna move this to the cooling rack for about 10 minutes. If we move it now, a lot of the fat from the sausage and so forth could come out of those holes and give us an unpleasant experience. And because we're not allowed to say bad words on YouTube, we're gonna leave this put. And in about 10 minutes, we'll move it and let it cool. You really can't cut this until it has had a real chance to cool. It's important. If you try to cut this while it's screaming hot, the inside has not set. So all of that stuff will just fall out. Which is why in Italy, they do not serve it screaming hot. It is just warm, and sometimes very often at room temperature, so that it stays all put together and you can walk down the street of a gorgeous street, cobblestone and all that stuff, everything beautiful, without spilling all over yourself like an idiot. Anyhow, that would be me. We all know that would be me. Let this cool. Okay, and here we are. Now, this cannot be cut. It is absurdly hot, and the filling would just it's not set. So we want to make sure that this beautiful thing isn't ruined because we couldn't wait. Now, I need to go do other things because this is still a working homestead. So what I'll do, because I want to make sure that you see the inside, is I'm gonna edit the video and do all the things. I'm gonna take some pictures and I'm gonna add the pictures in our community tab. That way we all get everything we need, but the critters outside can stop screaming. Okay, so here we are. It's beautiful. The smell is unbelievable. A little tip. What I'm doing here is I have the cooling rack seated on top of 2 cutting boards, and there's just trivets underneath, and that's giving a lot of extra air underneath, so it circulates, so we can maintain that crispy crust underneath, because some of that fat kind of fries the bottom, and it is the most glorious crunch you'll ever have in your life. I did not say this was diet food. Do I look like, do I wish I was thinner? Yes. Am I thinner? No. So it is what it is. Don't eat a lot of it. The reality is you're gonna want to, but let me see if I can tip this without, ow, okay. See that? Yeah. Ow. It's because I love you. I'll see you next time. Make this. Remember, this is from the dough from Bread Baking 103. I'll make sure everything's linked so you don't have to go fishing. Let it cool very, very, very well. Wrap it, double wrap it if you made 2, and have one in the freezer. You will not be unhappy. Another tip, if you want to freeze it and you don't want to have to pull the whole thing out. You can portion it in the size that works for your family, individually wrap them, and freeze them that way. That way you can pull out what you need, no waste. Waste is the worst, especially when you work this hard. Now I'm gonna push this back because in theory, our dogs are trained. Sure. In theory, our dogs are trained. In reality, they would take this and run. And I am no longer built for speed, y'all. I love you. See you next time.